So let's address the elephant in the room. This is a hypertrophy program. What are we doing box jumps for? You're probably watching this during a cycle where we're doing a little bit of a blend of strength and hypertrophy. And while box jumps aren't a hypertrophy exercise, they are a great way for us to do what's called potentiating the nervous system, which is just fancy for getting your nervous system and your muscles and your mind ready for hard, powerful, explosive work later in the workout. So we're probably doing this early in the session before something like squats or deadlifts or hack squats or leg presses or somewhere where we want to produce a lot of force. And whether you're comfortable jumping onto something or not, I'm going to show you 3 different ways to do this. The first one will involve jumping onto something, a box, a bench, a platform, but the other 2 will not, in case that's just not something you're comfortable with, which is totally fine. And so while I program box jumps, there will be 2 other exercises, so stick around, watch the whole video. So when it comes to picking a box height, it is not about picking the highest implement possible. We're not trying to kind of progressively overload the height of the box. That's not what we're doing. You should pick something that is low enough for you to jump on safely, no matter what, 100% of the time with good technique. And so for me, the bench works great. For a lot of you guys, the bench might work great. If you're in a gym setting, you might have plyo boxes, etc. But if you don't have a lot of options, or you don't have a correct height option, or you're not comfortable jumping on something at all, again, there will be 2 other options after the box jump demonstration that work just as well. So when it comes to executing the box jump, I want you to get roughly a foot away from the bench, and I want you to get into what we'll call your jump stance, which just means essentially if you were to walk in from, being outside in the yard and you were to wipe your feet on the ground and then you look down, that's roughly your best jump stance, right? It's essentially your feet coming directly down out of your hips, and that's actually just kind of an easy, fun way to figure that out. But the truth is, what matters is that you feel comfortable to produce maximal force, and maybe that's here, maybe that's here. But if you walk up to the bench, you're about a foot apart, you look up, you wipe your feet on the ground like you just came in, it's going to be roughly this stance, and it gets us in the ballpark. It's a pretty easy thing to do. From here, what we want to do is bend at the knees and the hips, let the arms drop down, and then we are going to use the arms and jump as high as we can onto the platform and try and land softly. So it'll look like this. Then we step down, we do not jump down, and then we go through into the next rep. Now, we're not trying to race through this. This is not box jumps and CrossFit where you're like, right? This is power and speed development. You're doing these with maximal force, and you're doing them nice and slow. What I mean is slow between reps. And so you're jumping, soft landing, step down, You're not doing these for speed, you're doing them for power, so take your time and put everything into each jump. And so just to recap the box jump, pick something that you can definitively jump on that is not ambitious in any way, that you will not get hurt doing. It's not about the box height, it's about your intent to jump as high as possible. Then walk about a foot away from it, get into your jump stance, you can kind of wipe your feet on the ground, flex at the knee and the hip, arms down, jump, soft landing, and step down. The benefit of the box jump over the next two that you will see is that because you are jumping onto something, the impact is lower. As you see, as I jump onto this, there's barely any impact. If I were to jump here, I'm landing, hard onto the ground. It's not the end of the world, you're not super brittle, but that is the feature of the box jump, is that it is a lower impact exercise. Again, that's not make or break, but again, that is the benefit. And so if you're not comfortable jumping onto something, that's totally fine. There are two other options we'll go through now. The first is a seated high jump. So you're gonna pick something roughly knee height. The bench is gonna work great for a lot of you guys, but some of you have plyo boxes in the gym or at home, and that works great too. You're just gonna sit very simply in a similar jump stance where your feet are kind of directly out of your hips, not super wide, not kind of knees together. Nice and comfortable here. Arms are gonna start straight down, slight lean forward just to get the body weight over your feet. And then you're gonna use the arms, jump as high as you can, land, and start again. And that was roughly the pace I want you going through these. It's not for speed, it's for power, and so I want you putting maximal intent and effort into every rep. And the last variation, a very simple one for those that don't have a bench or a box to even sit on and just want to maybe occupy their own space in the gym, away from other people, whatever, is just a standing high jump where you're going to execute that same thing, but just from a standing position, as if you were, trying to block a shot in basketball or whatever, do a high jump competition, whatever. Standing here, jump stance, wipe the feet, flex at the knees and hips, use the arms, jump, land. I don't want to hit this here. Let's move here. Down. And so while the box jump does have a feature of being a little bit lower impact, all three of these will work incredibly well. So pick the one that's right for you. If you don't feel comfortable jumping on something right now, that's totally fine. Both of the other exercises will work perfectly well for potentiating the nervous system, which just means getting your muscles, your mind, your nervous system ready for hard, powerful work to come later in the workout.